podcast. As you can see, we've got Sheldon back. He was MIA for the last show when we had the face off. And anyone who is going to watch the Samuel interview that starts on Monday, you would notice that Sheldon was we were waiting for him throughout, but he didn't show up, which is fine. But anyway, Sheldon, how you doing? Can you hear me, Sheldon?
Was Sheldon gone down at the last?
He just froze. Okay, Stevie,
Yeah,
how
I
are
can
you
hear
doing?
you.
We'll wait for Sheldon. Oh, you can't hear me.
Okay, you're
Can
good.
you hear me now?
I'm good.
Yeah, yeah. I
I
was
can hear
just
you
saying
now.
how you doing.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, how are you doing, Sheldon?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Doing well. Doing well.
How's the
Yeah.
last few weeks been for you? Because we've not seen or heard from you, sir.
I know. Yeah. I had to go out of town last week, and then I think the other week you guys. Well, I can't remember, man. It's just like it's been a blur because it wasn't back to back. Okay, it was Samuel, and then it was the Bobby and the Keith. It was like almost it was back to back, but it doesn't seem like it was back to back that you guys did it. But yeah, I've been good, man. Just had to go out of town, and I missed the other one as far as the time frame or whatever because I was thinking that the Samuel one was going to be done on a Friday versus the weekend. So yeah, I had made some
Yeah,
plans. So yeah, I missed it.
that is fine. Stevie, how have you been?
Yeah, I've just enjoyed a week off work. I kind of didn't get into the Halloween vibe, but
Oh, okay, you didn't come dressed as Sherlock Holmes or Batman or something?
well, I always watch a horror movie at this time of year, and I thought I've nearly gone the whole Halloween without watching anything spooky. But this evening, I found a film,
Okay.
and it brought back a lot of memories of the late 80s. It was a new film. It was a new Ghostbusters movie.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
And it had, at the end of it, had the original. I found it on Netflix. It had the original members of it. They all came back at the end. I won't.
Okay.
That was it. Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Okay.
And
Okay.
because I know they remade Ghostbusters with a load of girls in, didn't they? I mean, it's funny we're talking about girl groups tonight.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
I watched this remake with the girls in, and I lasted about half an hour. I just got so bored.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
thought I'll try this new one, Afterlife. And
yeah.
20 minutes in, I'm thinking, hold on a minute. It's there's a few characters from the first movie, and like the secretary. I'm there. Oh, I'm getting nostalgic vibes. And next thing you know, it's almost like a recreation of the first movie, and I'm getting excited. But yeah, if you've not seen it, Ghostbusters Afterlife,
Okay.
Halloween, good film. Kids
Okay.
can watch it too. It is scary, but not too scary.
Not too scary. Okay. Well, guys, we are going to do our top 10 girl groups. But before we do that, as always, it's always good to get some updates, any music news, anything happening in the world of music, just so that people watching could. Um, I mean, one of the things I could start off with is Brandy is releasing her first Christmas album. I believe it's a lot of new songs. She's also it coincides with a Netflix film sort of Christmas drama this is coming out with. But yeah, so Chris, Brandy has she started her own label, and her own label is going to be sort of distributed through Motown. So she is taking ownership of stuff, and her first project is this Christmas album. So I've seen the first single. It doesn't sound too bad. It sounds pretty. It's a kind of a love about love, lost love around Christmas time. So just check that out. Anything else that you've heard of, guys?
Yeah. Over on this side, obviously Tony's still doing well on the tour circuit. People are showing up, and a lot of great comments about the show. And then most recently, New Edition performed this week. This weekend was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That's earlier this week, and New Edition did a tribute to '70s group The Spinners, and a lot of great responses for New Edition's performance, specifically Bobby and Ricky. They just did a medley of three songs, and
Okay.
great response, man. It just endeared them to New Edition more. 40 years in the game. Johnny Gill has been doing a lot of recent interviews, talking about 40 years in the game, and him and Ralph are going out on tour, a little few dates here and there. So yeah, no addition to, the franchise is still rolling.
Yeah, I don't know what I feel about something like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The fact that Chaka Khan has only just got inducted um, after all these years, and someone like Missy, first time around, yep, let's just put it through. And
Yep.
even a group like No Edition, I think for what they've endured and stuff, I think they should have been in there. So I don't respect the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think it's probably growing up. I used to think it was the ultimate, and they had the right kind of groups. They had the kind of rock groups and had the big R&B groups. But I think in recent years, it's just become too. It's just shown to becoming an industry showboat, which just has lost its respect. That's just me.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in on that real quick. When you see Missy going in, the biggest thing is that in the past maybe half decade or so, you have the committee is getting younger and younger. So when I say younger and younger, we're talking about people now that are on these boards that are now in their 40s, that are now in their 50s. So now it's causing us to see an influx of more rap groups, and of course Missy's the female representation and all that. So that's why we kind of see it, and it's a plus because now you're seeing a younger board that's promoting that diversity. But the only problem is that you're going to see a lot of groups, a lot of artists who should have gone in earlier, may not have gone in. And I think it's just that when you see Shaka Khan going in, a lot of people should have gone in early. Yeah. And it's a crapshoot, man. It started out chronologically when it first started in '86, but you really, to play catch up, and it's just so many different things. And they got other people going in as contributors. So it's always been in one side, it's been suspect, but because there wasn't anything else that was comparable on the R&B side or whatever in terms of the prestige, that was the thing. But I'm glad that Shaka Khan, she actually went in, and I love the fact that when she went in, she brought up her bandmate from the group she was in, Rufus, and was like, "Hey, this guy put me in the group. I wouldn't have been anything without him." They wrote some songs together. So they're trying to play catch up, and again, it can kind of seem like it's kind of like very contrived. That's because now you're getting a younger influx of board members on there. So now when you see it, it seems like it's kind of like, I don't want to say shaky, but it may appear like it's not as genuine. But I feel what you're saying in terms of the integrity. I feel you.
Yeah,
I got you.
Stevie, any music news from your end?
I've just been enjoying this Mammoth Prince and the New Power Generation reissue of Diamonds and Pearls.
Wow.
There's a 7 CD. And
7 CD.
7 CD. 3 of the CDs are unreleased tracks from Diamonds and Pearls, and there's some New Jack Swing tracks, unreleased New Jack Swing tracks on there, which are amazing. There's remixes, extended versions. It's just very expensive, £160.
I was going to say
£60. I mean, I said to the guy in HMV, "You better give me some tissues, mate." I'm going to start crying. So, but this is what collectors do. You know what I mean? It's, them print. I do collect Prince stuff. I'm not like a fanatical Prince collector like I know some people are.
Yeah.
But you got to get your money out now with someone like that. And Prince Estates, they're going through the vault, so everything's going to come out at some point. But yeah. Oh, and I must mention, in terms of Christmas, there's a new Samara. Have you heard of Samara? A singer called Samara Joy or Samira?
Yeah.
Joy?
Oh yeah, jazz singer, beautiful, great singer.
Oh,
yeah.
He's put like a 6-track Christmas EP out, and I had the vinyl in my hand, and it was like £38. I'm thinking, still getting the CD. I'm not paying £38 for a 6-track EP vinyl. I'm just going to get the CD, but just to hear a voice, I mean, you just don't get these amazing, distinctive like voices these days like we had in the past, and I think she's definitely one of them. She's up there with the greats. I think she's going to be well up there. People haven't heard of her just yet, though. She's on a label called Verve, a jazz label, But if a bigger label picks her up, who knows what might happen.
Wow. And just
But you know
finally,
what? I think she's right at home.
okay, good.
Sorry?
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sheldon.
No, go ahead. No, I'm good. Go ahead.
You said she was right at home where? Sorry.
Yeah, the label that she's on is really good. I think it's good for her because in terms of her, she already has a big international following. You know, the music in terms of like jazz music, it's you know, a lot of she's symbolized a younger person doing the music or whatever, but her fan base, man, is so broad, very broad. I think the label that she's on now is great, because you certain labels, man, they try to put her out there, try to maybe turn her into Celine Dion or somebody like that. So I think she's kind of where she's at. She's good.
Okay. And yeah, as I was just going to say this finally, that one of my favorite guests, Shantae Savage, loved Shantae. She's just about to re-release "Bet You're Never Gonna Find," which turns 30 this year. That was her debut single off her. So she's going to recut the vocals with DJ Terry Hunter, freshen up the tracks, and bring it out. So I think it's going to be available on the 17th of November on all digital platforms. So Shantae Savage, I just, as I said, she was one of my favorite guests just because she was just such a beautiful spirit, and I think I actually did tell her about re-recording some of her tracks, and now to see a year later, she's pretty much doing it. She has an amazing voice. Okay. So that's it. So we just went through some of the music news and stuff like that. Hey, our man Colin is around. What's up, Colin? Joseph. Yeah, we've got we've got a number of guys. A lot of our friends back in. Okay, so today we are. What is it? Don't forget the Nucleus rap group who jammed on '84. Does anyone know this?
Yeah, I remember them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So today, what we are doing is our top 10 female groups, and we do welcome you guys to put in your top 10 as you go through, to see if it's going to be similar to what we have. And I must admit, guys, it wasn't as I struggled with this more so than I would with the male groups, which we'll do next week, in a few weeks' time. But I struggle with naming my faithful out my top 10. But we're going to give it a go. So we start at number 10 and work our way up. So anyone wants to volunteer to go first? I can do it. Is it?
You go first, Namdi, because I'm still umming and ahhing about positions here. It's killing me.
Okay. So I'm starting off with number 10, and this is a group that I wish we had more from them. And it's a group called Abstract. They were signed to the GR Production, Gene Griffin, Teddy Riley. I said Gene Griffin, Teddy Riley. Gene signed them. Teddy did the music and Gene got all the money. But and what we didn't know until we interviewed Idris was the fact that they were the girls in the Groove Me video. So when Aaron Hall is singing "Groove Me," they're the three girls doing the singing at the back. That was Abstract. I think "Right Hype" is sort of the big single that they came out with. But if you listen to their album, oh my goodness, it could have been like I think they could have been on that, taking that CC Pennington, even Shantae's sort of New Jack dance type of songs lane, if they had focused on that, if that's how they market them. Great, it was an amazing album. And then Martha and Mary, who were in the group, went on to do Eminem, which was the duel that they released an album, and then they sang background on One More Night, one of my favorite Bobby Brown songs. So Abstract comes in at number 10 for me.
That's a really it's a really strong choice. That
Okay.
strong. There's the Abstract album.
That's the Abstract
I
album.
couldn't find me Eminem. I know it's in a rack somewhere, but
I've
Very,
actually
very strong.
I've actually tried to reach out to Mary Brown because Mary Brown is so she went on to be a writer, wrote for Destiny's Child and some other groups, and she's actually also she's part of the I think the Grammys and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame
Board member,
for
like a
pardon.
yeah, board member or something like
Yeah,
that.
board
Yeah.
member. So she's big in the industry, and yes, I've been trying to get a hold of them, but still working on that.
Did you listen? Did you hear the Eminem album, Namdi?
No, I hadn't listened to the Eminem album.
Because it's just that from start to finish is it's an incredible album. It isn't. I'll have to dig it out if I can find it. You need to hear that
Okay,
album because if you
okay,
love abstract,
yeah,
probably like the Eminem even better. It's a great album.
Yeah, they had great voices. I love them. Singing on like one night. They
yeah,
just
yeah.
Mary was also a vocal coach.
Mm.
And they just have that. They had a nice blend. Nice blend.
Yeah, I guys, if anyone who hasn't listened to the Jack podcast, oh goodness, it is probably the best podcast I've ever listened to. Probably heartbreaking because Teddy and Marsha were dating. Probably could have got married if Jean hadn't been too afraid that she might have opened his eyes to what was going on, and he broke them up. But that was a hard. It was very hard to listen to the whole thing, but it's probably the best New Jack documentary podcast out there. Anyway, who's next?
Go on, Sheldon.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it was an amazing podcast.
be warned. Okay, because I gotta
So
be
remember,
warned.
these are females now because I know last
Right,
week we did the males. We just threw
right,
in
right.
and
Exactly. So be warned because my list is made up of a mixture of groups across like decades. But when I was putting together my list, I had to kind of break it down because, like you said, it was kind of challenging. So I had to
Okay.
look at the distinct identity, how unique they were, the songs, and the historical impact. Because when we start looking at favorite and best and all that, I said, okay, I pulled these groups out, you know. So my number 10 is it's actually two groups that are lodged in there. Okay, it's Supremes and the Marvelettes. Okay, and the reason why I picked them too is because one, when you start looking at the history of female groups, they've always been there. But what it was that when the Supremes came in, they shifted the lane and they kind of expanded the platform and made the female group platform really, really bigger. Obviously, they had a lot of great hits. They were like the first ones that were out there that had that could get the pop audience. They played in a lot of the pop venues and things like that. So they were the template that everybody else would kind of like build from. Everyone else before that, maybe a little bit prior, people were maybe too young, but the Supremes, even if you were maybe like somebody my age, you may have seen old clips. If you were female and you seen old clips and you were a girl group, that's who you wanted to be like. And then there's a Slash. So they had another group that was at the same time on Motown. They were the Marvelettes, and they were like the original. They were like the original hood female group because the Supremes were very pristine.
Oh,
The
so this is
Marvelettes,
Jodeci and Boys to Men.
yeah. It's just like that female version of that. So the Marvelettes had these earthy, gritty style. It was like the Supremes, very catchy melodies or whatever, but the type of songs that the Supremes had were very pretty songs, pristine, and the Marvelettes had that very, very gritty sound. So anybody who was of a certain age group listening to those groups, they really gravitated to them because some people didn't like the Supremes, they felt they were like a pop group, too prissy and all of that, so they gravitated to the Marvelettes. So those two are like my 10. Oh my God, Colin, I forgot about them. Oh my God.
Oh, dearie me. How could you forget LaBelle?
I forgot about them, man. Colin, I might have to, man. Oh my God. Man, Colin, you got me, man. You got me. Okay. I'm gonna have to take the week off. Oh my God, I forgot about them. Woo. Next
Uh,
up.
I mean, to be
Stevie.
fair, you didn't put a time stamp
Well,
on.
yeah, we probably could have because
You
knowing
could
I
have put
didn't.
them again. Well, the viewers know what we're going to get with Sheldon. He's going to go from the 60s right up to the 90s. With me, I'm going to stick with the podcast, New Jack Swing podcast. So mine doesn't go past really 1994, to be quite honest. And with you, it's kind of like your favourites back.
Oh, Stevie's frozen.
We're getting an all-round good vibe before I get into
which is good.
Yeah, before I get into my number 10, I thought I'd mention a few that didn't make it. That, you know, I ummed and ahed. A lot of them were just one album wonders. There was this group who were signed to Solar. I don't know if you can see that. They were called Times 3. One album.
Okay, never heard of them.
They did a cover of Best of My Love. Who did Best of My Love, Sheldon? Remind me.
The Emotions.
Yeah, they did a
The
New Jack
Emotion.
cover version of that. Yeah, they did. There's a track on here called "Typical Relationship" produced by Zach Harmon and Troy Taylor, which is an incredible swing beat track. But if you're into New Jack Swing, get this album if you've not checked it out before. These are a duo. They had one album, Stacey and Kimiko, produced by your good friend Chucky Booker.
Remember them?
Wow.
Chucky Booker's on this. Brian Loren, Dealer Vance. They did the two singles, Are You Available and Come and Get With It, which were amazing. Who else? These were signed to Giant Records, Good to Go. They were like the white female group. They had a single out called Never Satisfied, produced by your good friend Stanley Brown. Hold on, was it Stanley Brown? Yeah, Stanley Brown. Dr. Freeze produces some stuff on this. Rico Anderson for Biv Entertainment. So, yeah, all the big producers are on this. You know, the New Jackers. Wow. Three times, what they call these on Atlantic. 3 Shades Brown, another duet. It's a bit obscure, this, but
I remember that cover.
Yeah. And these were signed to Travell Levert Productions. One of the girls.
All of
I spoke to one of them on Instagram through the Men at Large guys, and they could be up for a future interview about this group. But if you like Levert, it's like a female version of Levert. Strong album. Right, number 10. Where do we start? Because I've been chopping and changing. These girls who had a huge hit, of course, with Don't Walk Away. What year was that? 92, was it? Unforgettable record. 92. I must admit, I didn't really listen to this album much at the time. I listened to the follow-up album in 94. I played that a lot. I played the singles from this, which I Want to Love You, produced by, was it Ron Spearman and the other guy? Vassal Benford. Yeah. And Don't Walk Away. What was that other single, that big single? One Woman. So it was mainly the singles, but just on the strength of Don't Walk Away on the second album, just got good memories of this group. They are part of the 90s girl group. They're very big.
I mean, that Don't Walk Away was, I think, if it is the sound of the 90s. It you listen to it now, and it takes me back to being in Selma, Alabama. Just when I hear that track. I've been trying to get Di Reed, the lead singer, for some time, so she even hit me up a few days ago just to say hello. Unfortunately, the two of the members of the group are moving with the Jade name, and they've brought in somebody else, so it's still up and down. So I think it's trying to try and do an interview without having that in the backdrop. So, but that they made their mark on that with that one track. The good album. But yeah, they definitely made their mark. Okay. My number 9, I did want to, unlike Stevie, I don't have those little things. I did think about putting the Spice Girls in, because they actually did their thing, but instead I went for Destiny's Child, the Spice Girls. No, I was joking. I was going to put them, but I tracked them out. But I'm going with Destiny's Child, and this seems to be. I didn't know. I mean, it's strange because the second phase of Destiny's Child, well, the third phase, which was with Michelle, Kelly, and Beyonce, I actually warmed to them. I think there's a lot of recently there's been a lot of I think Beyonce has gone to another level, and people sort of don't seem to appreciate Destiny's Child for what they were doing at that time. And I don't know where the baggage comes from. So people just seem to don't appreciate them. But I actually thought, they were especially when they did the whole Survivor independent women. They worked hard, and they held their own at the time when men were dominating the R&B scene. They really put in their work and stuff. So much shout out to Destiny's Child. I mean, all versions of them. They were the female Blackstreet, changing members each album, but they and I have a lot of respect for Beyonce. I think she has shown from the kid to where she's at now that she really put in the work. So Destiny's Child make my number 9.
Well, over there, 5 out, you call 4 albums and a Christmas album. I enjoyed them. I enjoyed the first album. Was it 97, 98? Wyclef production. There's just the other bits on it, but it was a solid album. Then the second album with, is it Bills, Bills, Bills? And when they had that Shakespeare production, they kind of changed the production sound and jumped on it. And I enjoyed that. And when it went a bit Survivor, that album, it felt like their stadium type concert album that had a huge, big pop sound. I didn't play that as much, but I could see, that's when they were at the height, weren't they? They were at the peak. And then the final album, I thought the final album was just a really good soul R&B album.
Yeah, Destiny Unfulfilled. Destiny Unfulfilled. That was to me, that was the best record for me. Yeah. I love that. Everything else was great, the hits and all of that, and it just people they kind of just they weren't that many female groups at that time. So they were doing it, but they had staying power, man. They come out in 97, and up until about 2001, man, they just were unstoppable. They were unstoppable. Yeah.
So I UK girl groups out at the time, actually, but they didn't really make it outside of the UK, like Fierce, groups like that. Didn't get as big as they were signed on the back of Destiny's Child. Obviously, that formula, I felt,
Yeah, and that was a different. I guess the difference
Mystique,
between
that was another one. Mystique.
There was Mystique, Sugar Babes, and Eternal, and what's the name of the other? Anyway, Sheldon, who makes your number 9?
Okay, my number 9, the Pointer Sisters. Okay, number 9 in the 80s. When you look at I'm giving it to you in the 80s, big pop records. We talking about Michael Jackson and Prince and all of that, and the Pointer Sisters were right up there in the 80s. Pop phenomenon. A lot of R&B groups were making pop records in that era, that between 82 and 85. Super big records, but they were coming out in the 70s before then. They could sing anything, man. When they came out, they were singing jazzy rhythms, jazz type songs. They were singing in syncopation. They could sing country records, and they were doing that in the 70s. They were so versatile in terms of singing, and they had a unique look. And then when they moved over into the 80s, they had a big pop sound. They had a lot of string or hit records. But anybody who don't know who they are, just you go to YouTube and just do Pointer Sisters Greatest Hits, man, and you just boom, they got a lot of them. So I would say when you look at big groups, big artists in the 80s, we always talk about Michael Jackson and Prince and Anita Baker, but they were in that mix with some huge big records. So
Pointer Sisters. One of my favorite tracks from them, Automatic. I enjoyed the original. There's also a New Jack remix of that as well, which is incredible.
Neutron Dance.
That's the one, on the Beverly Hills. Is it on the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack?
Yep.
I really enjoyed that. I always felt they were a bit kind of rock. They verged on pop rock, didn't they?
Yes, they kind of finished up on the pop rock side. They started out jazzy R&B. They had an R&B style. It was really jazzy and had a little country flavor. But when they went to the 80s full steam, it was more like a popish rock aspect of it. But they were the biggest, R&B female group in that window in that 80s, man. Big records.
I could just imagine now sat in the cinema watching with your popcorn, watching Rocky 4, Sheldon.
Yeah.
Pointless, you know, I know
you,
Pointless is
Draco.
squirting, but he's just got that, you know. He comes out and he goes into I know Tower Records, buys a new Pointer Sisters album, you know, and a real 80s moment there for Shelby.
But the thing about it that I never bought their radio. Were all over the radio and all over television, and I grew up at a time where there were no young people doing music, so I can remember seeing them at 7 or 8 years old, and they was doing the whole talk show circuit, performing the songs all on the radio. So yeah, you know, that's my number 9. When I look at them, it was based on identity, how unique. I'm sorry.
They had a big like ballad. They had like a really big ballady mid-tempo record that was a big hit. The Pointer Sisters.
They had a slow hand.
That's the one.
That was the big ballad, and then had another one, and that's the one that Bruce Springsteen wrote for them. Bruce wrote that.
Wow.
Yeah. Big group.
Okay. Stevie, who's your number 8?
There already. Yeah, I'm chopping and checking. It's so hard because I can see a few people mentioning a few names, and I'm like, oh my god, I didn't put them in. I forgot. But I'm just going off albums that I just played the most. You know what I mean? I seem to enjoy the most, and I played this a lot from this duo.
Changing Faces.
Good friends from 1994. This CD's got a lot of wear in my collection. So just a superb album. Obviously, R. Kelly, Kenny Smooth, the Untouchables were on this.
Yeah.
I just thought the songs were really strong. Devontae was on this as well. Devontae Swing.
Yeah.
But the songs were so strong on the, you know, how many albums did they make? 3? Was it in the end? 3 albums? Yeah.
They did 2. They did 2 on that label, and then they did another one later. Yeah.
So I'm looking at the singles on this. Stroke You Up, Fooling Around, Keep It Right There. So they had a few singles on this. This again, play this from start to finish. Very strong duo. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I say if anyone, Cassandra Lucas, who, you know, she said that they wrote, I think, 7 out of maybe if there were 10 tracks on the album, they wrote 7, and they got, you know, and they were instructed by Marcus Miller. Remember Marcus? He was
Vandross. Yeah.
He said you guys need to learn to write and own your publishing, and so they did. So they you know, yeah. So it's an amazing group, you know, and it was really strange just having 2 girls singing, you know, but they made it. They you know, they had the ballads, they had the secret ingredients and stuff.
Yeah, I love them too, man, because I wasn't really buying too many female groups back in the 90s or whatever. But I remember buying that CD. I bought the first 2. So I bought all 3, and very, very good. A lot of great songs, man. That's almost like a greatest hits record. I mean, even though you had the singles, the album songs or the CD songs or whatever, they were very, very good. I love the look that they had. You know, videos were great, but
they had Joe wrote the other woman.
Yes.
Yeah, Joe write that one. Yeah. Man, yeah. I mean, I love Cassandra. The fact that she just came out, gave an interview and stuff.
Live, you know, I did see him live. I think it was 2011 at the Wembley. Is it the Wembley Arena in London?
Yeah, Wembley Stadium. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't the state. I think it was the. They sounded great. They did sound great. They're on one of them like mega R&B tours with a load of other groups like Jodeci and who else? And Drew Hill. So brilliant act.
Okay.
Number 8.
Okay. So number 8. Yeah. So my 5 to 8, I could have been in any order. That's how hard it was for me. Now. But it got to go hard. But I've as much as I love the lead singer, I had to put them at 8, and that's 702. 702 have endured. I mean, you know, 3 albums, but they had some hits. I wish Milo didn't sing all the lead songs. I have a funny feeling about that. But they had some tracks and they had some hits, and they started young, and they evolved as they got older. And yeah, I mean, it's, you know, just to see what they, you know, working, having a good relationship with Missy, and then with getting Donnell to do some stuff. And I think, as I said, you know, just the fact that Mila had to deal with the challenges of coming into a group that had two sisters, and then she's now put to be the lead singer and having to deal with that dynamic, and they were very young, 15, they're just out of secondary school, high school. So yeah, 702. I mean, I don't even know what my favorite. I think it's hard to tell what my favorite singles are from them, but and they're still doing it strong, and even after they've lost.
Did Donell Jones do something on the
Iris.
first album? I can't remember now.
Yes, he did. He did. Oh goodness, it's in my head. Then
It was a good track though, I do, because I just
yeah, goodness, can you remember? It's they're I've asked Donnell about this because he wrote this track for his girl group, and ADF says give it to it's a slow jam. Goodness, it's gonna kill me.
don't worry about it. Don't
Okay,
worry about it.
okay. Yeah, I've talked to them so many times about that. But yeah,
It was good that I like the way.
goodness.
I mean, I think the first album for me was my favorite, and again, like Destiny Child, they kind of changed the sound up and went for that more
Get it
Get It
together.
Together. That was it. Yeah,
Get it
nice
together. Yeah.
record. They kind of changed it up on that kind of Shakespeare. The beats got a bit.
When girls at those records like that.
Yeah. So they kind of moved. They
Yeah.
did well. They moved with the times. Good group, solid.
Yeah.
Solid group.
So that made me 7. Sheldon, who's your number 7?
TLC.
No, we're on
What?
number 8.
8.
Yeah, number
Yeah,
8.
TLC.
Who's your number
TLC.
8? Number
Yeah.
8.
Mhm.
Bizarre, and it goes
Wow.
from the Pointer Sisters and the Supreme to like TLC.
yeah.
Man, you gotta understand, man. Is this man? I'll be 55 next month, man. So that's the perspective. But I love TLC because and when TLC came out, man, you got to realize I was 24, 22, 24, something like that.
Okay.
So here we go. But TLC, I love them because they had very catchy records, and they were doing things what a lot of other groups weren't doing. They can inject humor. They can inject humor in their records. They had catchy records, and they had a unique look. Obviously, you had T-Boz with the deep baritone type voice. You had Chili's range, and you had the linchpin left eye. So they had a string of great records, and I love the fact that they had humor in the records, and they just had very good concepts. Obviously, Dallas Austin is a big part of that, but yeah, TLC is super dope. All right, now Zabak, you killing me over here, man. It's Oaktown 357, not Oakland 357. It's Oaktown 357. Listen, man. What can I say? If I was 35, maybe it's a little bit different. Give me some slack, baby.
Yeah, I mean,
Give me some slack.
Wow. I mean, yeah. Wow, 8. That's okay.
Yeah,
It's fine.
Yeah.
Stevie, who's your number 8?
What we on number 8? Right.
Number 8.
I remember at the time with New Jack Swing, I wanted it so. I really wanted it to go big in the UK because it just seemed to be getting ignored. So when this group came out, this girl group came out, and a lot of the, quite half the album was very New Jack sounding. I was just so excited, even though there was a pop element to the group, but it had 2 sisters. There was 4 of them, 2 sisters who had incredible gospel voices. Then you had what's she called, the white girl in the group? Louise, that was it. Louise was in the group. Then Eternal came out, and I was like, I was just so excited for him. And I really enjoyed that album. And then obviously they started breaking up, didn't they? Louise left, but
Is it Eternal?
Yeah, Eternal. They had a fantastic run for 3 albums in the 90s. They had a fantastic run.
Yeah.
Power of a Woman.
Yeah, I was in Europe then. I was in England during that time when they were really, really popular. I can't remember the one big song that they really had, but I remember
Stay.
Stay. It
Yeah,
was Stay.
exactly.
Teddy Riley did the
Yeah,
remix.
and they were all on BBC all the time. Yep. I was in the U.
Well, they were on VH, they were on BET when I was in the States when they came out, and they that Stay remix, man, really was, they pushed that, and that really pushed them. And then they did a song with BB Winans,
Yeah,
that also
I
made
want to
some
be the
noise
one.
as well.
But I miss them so much now. I mean, I go on YouTube because it's all the, you get the documentary story about the group and how they fell out, and I'd love them to. They ended up doing an album that was just the two sisters in the end, the early 2000s. But what a group! Great singers, they could sing. They had a lot of good songs. All right, they were more like pop R&B, but it worked. It was good wholesome R&B. And like I say, I really miss them. You know?
Oh, can you hear what Colin's saying? So Colin's his groups actually sang the
Wow.
demo, hated it, and then they gave it to Eternal, and that yeah, but
Hold on,
Colin,
Colin.
I think
Colin,
the
did you have
label.
anything to do with the group New Colours? I'm just thinking your name rings a bell with the group New Colours. Do you have anything to do with them? Maybe I'll answer that in a minute.
Yeah, but okay, yeah, that's as I said, that was good to hear for them. That's so that was your number 8. Okay,
Boys in Control.
no,
Boys in Control.
so
I've never
Colin was
even heard
on.
of them. You got
Okay,
Boys in Control,
okay,
eh? We need to send us some demos, send us some tracks. We'll like to hear those.
yeah, yeah. My number 7 is Changing Faces, and we've spoken about them. But as I said, they had a good run of singles. They had a good run of singles, like I said, Other Women, Stroke You Up. They had the track with Jay Z and R.
Yes,
Kelly.
yes.
Um, they had, and I think one of the things you can appreciate, the label realized that actually R. Kelly had, who comes out with slow jams for your first 2 singles. So they had Stroke You Up and
Fooling around.
I can't remember, fooling around. But the fact that they came out with in the summer with slow jams and stuff like that. So and as I said, being a duo was different, but they held it down. So yeah, they come in at number 7 for me. Um,
Wow.
uh, yeah, who's your number
7.
6? Sorry, 7. Your number 7, Sheldon.
My number 7 is going to be Cut Close.
Wow.
I love them. They did
Okay.
one album. The reason what I love
Great.
about them is that they had a very sexy vibe listening to those records, man. A very sexy, very sensual vibe. And obviously we know the hits, but it's just like the blend, the vibe that they had together. Very good. I love that album, man. I could just play it from beginning to end. And I love the fact that everything was either slow or was a mid tempo, and it really captured their voices very well. A lot of great
Yeah.
records. I like was sexy. Obviously, they were singing, Get Up on It. Excuse me, with
Mm,
Keith. Excellent records. Excellent record.
yeah.
Yeah, I love
Just a
that
shame we only
vibe that
got
they
one
had.
album from them.
Hey, you know what? Now I have the Tabitha, the Tabitha Duncan who came up with Cut Close. So she I've been trying to get her back because she was one of my first guests. They were back in the studio working on their second album with Missy and the Neptunes. They'd already cut some tracks with Missy and were about to go in to work with the Neptunes. And she was driving home and she heard on the radio that they're doing auditions for group members of Cut Close.
Mm.
So they wanted to keep Anthea and replace her and Athena. And Levon. So they wanted to replace the two of them. So yeah, so that's how it all went backwards and stuff. So it was just maybe because they just didn't like how strong she was and stuff, and they knew their money, they knew their stuff, and they knew what was happening, and they just sabotaged the group, the label. But yeah, that yeah, that's just a shame. They could have been even bigger, and you know they sabotaged them. But anyway, you know, still trying to get
Did it?
Keith on the
I
show,
just
so I don't want to
remember
go too
playing at
deep.
the time the first Blackstreet album, The Cut Close. Did they come out around the same time, The Cut Close and the Blackstreet? I can't remember.
Yeah,
I'm
year
so
apart.
much.
Blackstreet album was first. Blackstreet album was
I
first.
seem to play them albums all the time, and yeah, you got me there because I didn't include that one, so didn't make my should have though. Good, solid.
Who's your
Number
7?
7. Before I do that, we'll mention a few others. I seem to have a lot of gospel albums. Clark Sisters. Anyone remember these girls?
Oh yeah, man, the Clark
Oh,
sisters. Yeah, they can still.
wonderful, wonderful. These ladies as well. They went into the 90s, late 80s at Perry.
Yes. They were like they did background vocals. They were on Spike Lee's one of his Do the Right Thing.
Yes, they also
They were
did
singing on
backing
that.
vocals for Anita Baker, but their albums,
Yes.
their 2 albums are just great albums. Lady Soul, does anyone remember them? They did a big soundtrack. Is it for Sister Act with Whoopi Goldberg?
I heard of them.
Very classy. Then we've got. I wouldn't say I recommend these. They were called The Trim. They were kind of like pop rap with a few.
Oh my God, I remember them, man.
Very cute girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I don't know how I forgot these albums. I didn't play much for them though, but I found them. Then I think someone mentioned them before.
Stevie has.
I got them all here. Oaktown's 357, a couple of their. These albums are a bit crazy.
Yeah, there you go. Zabak, there you go. Yeah.
I have got a bit of a Jack and Ori story to tell about one girl group in a bit, but we'll get to what number we're on? 7.
Oh, you're number 7.
Short album, not very long. Jermaine Dupri's Protégé, Escape. What a great album this was. What a great, great singers as well. I wouldn't say the best looking group, but definitely sing. Definitely sing.
You know what? That's what Biggie.
Take that out.
That's what Biggie used to say. That's what the Notorious B.I.G. used to say. He made a record, and he was incorporating female singers. The song was called Dreams. So if you ever listen to it, and he name checks Escape, and he said basically what you said. And when they did their unsung,
let me take that back. Candy, she's gone from an ugly duckling to a swan. She really has. She's a good looking, Just before I get thrown off YouTube, you know what I mean? But yeah, what a solid album that, and they had a good run as well in the 90s, didn't they? Escape.
They did. The album they did before they broke up. That's the one that I bought. I like that. That was a good record. That was a more like a pop-ish type of situation or whatever. But they had some my Secret and a lot of other records. Yeah, I love that album. That album, I like that one better than that one. But that was the one with the hits, though. You're right.
Okay.
Just kicking it. So many good memories of that record. Just kicking.
Yeah.
So my number 6 is actually Cut Close, and as you know, Make You Surrender.
Surrender, yeah. Lay My Body Down. A lot of the album is so great, man.
They I think producing that album, Keith did well in getting the right type of vibe for them, and kept them in that vibe. It felt like, strange enough, the album is listed at going gold, but I think that it should have been double platinum because most of us had that album, but it just said gold. And this is where you when you listen to some of the interviews back, where some of the artists talk about the industry would hold back on sales figures because of about what it means at the back end, but that there's no how that album didn't go platinum off the strength of those singles and the fact that everyone would have had those things. So love their album, love their vibe, love Athena's voice. So yeah, Cut Close. Only one album. Unfortunately, they did, as I said, they were in the studio making this second album. If you do listen to the interview with Tabitha Duncan, she talks about being in the studio making the second album, and the politics that just broke things up. So Yeah, they make number 6 for me. Sheldon, who's your number
And
6?
just to go off with the situation as far as them going gold, I don't know if they went. They might have eventually went gold, but they didn't go gold like immediately. It may have been a few years later. So I just checked the
They
RI.
should have gone platinum. I'm talking about platinum. Forget
They
about
didn't even
gold.
do.
I
They
don't know
didn't even do
why they
gold.
would just
They didn't even do gold like right
makes
out.
no sense.
Yeah, they didn't do gold right after that. But think about it, man. That era, man, has so many. It was saturated with the groups, you know. But it's
Yeah,
just
but
some. It eventually probably went gold. Yeah. I just checked the RIA, and even like the first. Normally they'll track the records for at least the first couple years it's been out, and nothing, no certifications at all.
yeah,
Oh no, they didn't even
yeah,
go gold when
that
it
to
was
me that
out.
doesn't that doesn't make sense really because everyone would tell you that they have the album and the records and stuff like that. But anyway, who's your number 6?
Who we talking? Who is Sheldon
For me,
talking about?
SWV,
Sheldon. Yeah, Sheldon.
SWV.
What?
Wow.
No,
Yeah,
so
man. Think
what's
about
that?
it, man.
Number 6.
Yeah, SWV is number 6 for me, and the
What a
reason
top
why he's
10,
laughing at
Sheldon.
me like,
Got
yeah,
here. I can't wait for his 1, 2, 3, and
yo,
4
man,
now.
I'm trying to give you a
Whoa.
big, yeah, that's
We've got
a
some
big
big
thing,
shockers
man.
coming up here now.
Yeah, you're right. You'll be like, who? Yeah, but you'll see.
Yeah.
SWV.
SWV number 6.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, it's for me. It's another group I'll talk about, but y'all already know because I kind of let the cat out the bag 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. But anyway, SWV for me, them, and then there's another group that I have in the '90s. They had a very unique. They had a very unique sound, but they had a very strong identity. So when you heard them, you knew who they were from song to song, from album to album to album. Um, they were, you knew who they were. They had a great string of albums, great string of hits, and they had a unique identity, man. Even though Coco was doing the records, but the harmony and the blends, you knew it was SWV when you heard it. Just they could do up tempos, the ballads or whatever. It was just that, they could sing very well. I think no matter what. It's About Time was like, that's like a greatest hits album within itself, you know. So that album it had a lot of staying power. I couldn't believe it. It come out in '92, and the album rolled for like, there you go, Stevie. There you go, my man. The album came out
Come on.
'92, and it rolled until like the end of '94. Man, you talking about 2 years on the strength of those singles. So the combination between the girls and the songwriters, um, Brian Morgan, and then of course RCA. Even though RCA was not a big R&B label, that was like the right label for them to be on, man, because they were able to get that push, compared to if they were on an Uptown or whatever. I don't see them getting the push if they were on Uptown. But that was a great record, man. Great string of records. Use Your Heart is my favorite. That's my very favorite all-time favorite SWV record.
That's a great, yes,
Okay.
it's a great record. I mean, I just remember when the remix of well, it's debatable now whether Teddy Riley remixed it. I think it did. The Human Nature, that just dropped like a bomb, didn't it? That remix. It was you just had to have that record. It was everywhere that summer. Everyone was playing it, and just a great record. Great.
I think that
Yeah.
think that record extended the lifetime of that album.
Totally.
It really extended the lifetime of that album because at that point, think about it, man. They come out in '92, so '94 is rolling around, and you're thinking you wait, the next time for the next album, man. But they doing it, man, right here in Week and all those records.
Even Anything is a
Anything.
remake of the Slow Jam. Yeah, the one that All Star did. So that's a remake. Um, I to me, one of my when we do our top 10 New Jack stuff or remixes and stuff, I'm So Into You would be make there. That Teddy Riley with Wreck Effect. I don't really care what people have said about who contributed what, who did what. I know I heard Teddy. I know I his signatures all over that, and that came out around the same time with "Baby Be Mine" Blackstreet single, and I was briefly in the UK around that 92, 93 when it was just blown up, and Yeah, that's I'm so into you, the remake of that, and but I didn't realize that came out after Human Nature remake of SWV. So yeah, I'm surprised it's so low. But anyway, Stevie, who makes your
Um,
number
I'm
six?
just talking about like the from say 93 to 96. There was a deluge of like girl groups come out. Some of them were they got quite naughty lyrically, and the look. One of those groups was YNV. I don't know if anyone remembers these. I mean, look at look at the cover. I mean, you know, I don't
Is that
think
like
Escape
okay?
could compete with these in terms of cover, but but the album had a few big hits on it. Chocolate was quite a big at the time, but the lyrics, you know what I mean? What can I say? East 7669. Now they really, I didn't pull their CD out. They were they really went there. Does anyone remember Joe Manda? This is
I
some
remember that
great.
cover. Yeah, I remember that cover.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, untouched, some Kenny Smoo Untouchables type, Dave Jam Hall Productions on this. Namdi, you'd like this album. Who else we got? For
Okay.
Real.
I remember
Very
Okay,
them.
nice,
I
for real.
remember them.
really
Yeah.
strong vocals, good singles, solid album that. Who else we got?
For real. Yeah.
Very obscure this. They were signed to Motown for one album, On Edge.
Okay, Chef. Is that
No,
that's
On
the
Edge.
other.
On Edge they
Okay.
were called. Kenneth, what was he called? The guy who produced Brandy. He did a remix on him. Kenneth, I forgot his name. It's terrible, isn't it? Mahogany Blue. They had a one album on MCA. They had a single called Affair again. This quite some New Jack stuff on that. Eve, Ebony Vibe, Everlasting. Again, solid album. Some great stuff on that. Still going here. Shades, signed to Motown.
I remember that group. Yeah.
Tell Me was the big record on that one.
Stevie is the man. Stevie is the.
Levert again. Levert produced this album. They just didn't do any. They had. Oh, was it? And Low Key. I think Low Key had something to do with them as well. And Image. I never played this much though. Image. I don't know if anyone on Mercury. But anyway, let's get to my.
Stevie is, man, he has
number 6. We've already talked about him, so Abstract and Eminem made my number 6, and we can move on. But
okay.
Just for New Jack Swing purposes, they made my number 6. Just
okay, Abstract and Eminem. My number 5, and this is because these girls, they came out with the power ballads and power tracks with Brownstone. There was a difference with their second album. They tried to go. I think what happened with the second album, they didn't have the big ballad, the big track that would have then, because the second album was nice, but they just didn't have the big tracks that they had on their debut album. Grapevine was there was it's strange. Nicki's Nicki's power ballad was just amazing. And I think they had Dave Hall do some real production on that track, and it wasn't just because they were signed onto Michael's label and stuff like that I got them, but I was just a big fan of Do You If You Want Me. So they, for them, it was a really good a debut album. I think the one track that I when I interviewed Nick Brownstone and I said I wish they had released was Half of You, featuring Gordon Chambers. It was just him on the piano, and I said if Adele had sang that song, it would have been a number one song. But they wrote it with Gordon Chambers, and it was just a powerful track. But it just, unfortunately, it's the thing about labels. There was so much happening that they just, you can say, great album, let's move to the next one. I can tell you why it was another one,
that
but
was a remake.
they were
that
good.
was a remake. They did a good job.
Yeah, that was a remake.
That.
Yeah. I mean, as this, you the sophomore album. I think they just didn't. They just didn't keep up with it. I listened to the second album, and I was like, I was waiting for something different and something big, and I think they lost momentum.
The second album.
Yeah,
Good album.
Yeah,
It was
you know,
solid. It was a solid
it,
album.
it was good, but it just didn't have, by
Yeah.
'97, there was a lot happening. I mean, think about it, everyone 5 miles to empty. They showcased their vocals on the first album. By the second album, it was slower. We didn't hear the voices. We just didn't feel the power.
they it seemed like they peaked on the first album, but it had something to do with the material because the material on that first album was so superior, and they kind of like set themselves apart, vocally, man. But that's the tragedy of that era, man, is that it was so many groups and they're producer driven. So they kind of get lost. They fall through the cracks, man, to where, there's no time for them to, flesh out their identity. Of course, like you said, Namdi, is that now in 97, the music is changing. The music is
Yeah,
changing.
yeah,
So now you can jump on that bandwagon, but you can lose your identity, man. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah. So that swept them. So, who makes your number five, Sheldon?
Uh Thanks to, I think, Colin, I changed my number 5 to where now it's LaBelle. LaBelle. And the reason why I changed it, I put LaBelle at number 5 because, again, my criteria when I start, looking at these groups, because there's so many of them that made so many great records and all of that. I look at the distinct identity, their uniqueness, their songs, and the historical impact that they had. And when you look at them, they started out as like a Supremes type group, and then they moved over into the whole glam rock thing with the costumes, and you know they had a lot of club anthems, big in the clubs or whatever. So they really stood out, and they kind of broke the mold of what an R&B female group could be like. It was less about the choreography and all of that. They had a very distinct situation. They wrote their own records. They all had distinctive, unique identities. But yeah, LaBelle, that's my number 5, man. Yeah,
Who was it? No, sorry, number
Okay.
5. Who? Sorry,
LaBelle.
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 So you just put them in as we
I had
start.
to, man. After Colin got me, I said I forgot about them.
So
Yeah.
who did you take out then? Who
It
didn't
was
make
another it was another 70s group that was really big, and they're on my honorable mentions. So when I get down to my last 4, I'm gonna run down my ones that I
Okay.
left off my list. So yeah,
I think I might. I
Okay.
think if the 70s, I think I might know they are, but I'll
you wouldn't know them. You might.
Steve,
begin with. All right,
Steve, who's your number
begin with
5?
E.
No, not them.
E. No.
Oh, no, I got them. I got them on my list though. I know what you're saying.
I don't want to spoil it. I
You
don't want
see,
to spoil
you
it.
see. Yeah, okay.
Who's your number
I'll tell you
5,
what,
Stevie?
Jack and Ori story time.
Yes.
What year is this? 1993. A good friend of mine was working at, it was like a music distribution company where they get like a lot of dance records in, some hip hop records, some R&B, and they'd basically sell them to record shops round the UK. So they get like, say, does anyone remember a dance label called Strictly Rhythm? It's a huge dance label in the 90s. They get like the latest Strictly Rhythm record in, they get like, say, 200 copies, and then they'd be on the phone to all the record shops selling that record to all the shops that basically sold dance music. I ended up getting a little part-time job in there. It didn't last long because they never paid me. But my mate got me in there, and all I did was pack records. I put records in boxes and sealed the boxes. That was my way into what you would say the music industry in the 90s. I could say I was a good shit packer at the time. But
that's how you padded your collection. That's how you padded your collection.
Yeah,
right?
well, this is it. I seen records come in, and I get records at cost price. I didn't have to pay full price for them. And one week, a CD came in by this girl group from around 93. They're out of Texas. They were called Joy. Very, 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 very budgeted album cover there. You can just see them. The album was called Joystick. It was produced actually by the guy who does H-Town, Bishop Stick Burrell. Some of you may remember them. But the guy who gave me a job, who got me in there at the time, he started a little record label called Old English Records, and they were licensing R&B from the States and putting it out in the UK. And I says to him, you need to listen to this album because there's some really good stuff on it. So he listened to it. He got straight on the phone to Bishop. This is like in 1993, talking about H-Town and saying, we just heard this Joy album. We want to license some tracks for the UK. So he ended up buying like 4 tracks from the album. He remixed the tracks, put a vinyl out, like a 4-track vinyl, says, thanks. He even put my name in it, thanks to blah, blah, blah. I've still got the vinyl somewhere. So if any of you've got the Joy 12-inch with the 4-track remix or this album, you can thank me for it. Because this is where it was in this country. You know, it was my little picks from this album. But yeah, for new jackers, search this album because it's well worth it. It's not in the top 10 though, unfortunately. But what was it? Number 5. Oh, this is going to be debatable. These young ladies, hot young ladies, the good girls, made my number 5. 2 albums for Motown Records. Oh, when Just Call Me came out, my gosh. My hormones at that time. My hormones when Just Call Me. And that video dropped. Wow, what a bunch of girls they were. You know?
Yeah. You know, I've been trying to get what's her name? Joyce. I've been trying to get her for almost since lockdown. And she's been like, no, I don't want to talk about horror stories. And surprisingly, goodness, I can't remember. Shireen, who had left the group and stuff, was able to give her version of stuff. But you know, I loved how they danced and they got into it, you know, and you know they embraced New Jack Swing, even though they made it seem as if no, we didn't do New Jack. I said, look, you guys did really embrace it. If you ever see the interview, she said, no, we weren't doing New Jack. We just did our stuff. I said, no, this was rubbish, it was the whole rubbish. You got. Yeah, it was New Jack, but they were good though. Not only with the looks, they did the dance, man. They got into the dance stuff and it's a good call. Motown just didn't do. They just didn't know they just didn't know what to do with these groups, and that was the thing. You know, they could have gone bigger because by the time they broke up, other girl groups were just blown up. But yeah, that
has a lot to do with when the Good Girls came out, they came out at a time when it was still older people at the record companies. Gerald Busby was still there, but you didn't have younger like A&R, you know, buffers that could really just push these people and kind of extend their careers. It was more like, okay, let's throw whatever's out there, see what if it's gonna stick. And they had 2 albums, but I remember I'm Gonna Make You Mine, and they were extremely popular. I used to see them on TV. They did all the shows. You know, Apollo and a lot of stuff.
So, and you know, they started off with Soul Train dancers.
Yes.
They were dancing. Yeah.
They're on Instagram. I'd love them to make. I even left a comment. Just give us one more record, ladies, just for old time's sake.
You know, they were marketed as like Motown's new Supremes, the way Today was marketed as Motown's new Four Tops. They were marketed as the Supremes, and as a matter of fact, they remade a Supremes record on one of their.
Yeah,
it's called Itchin' something or another, whatever.
Yeah.
So they did their thing.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I've been trying to get Joyce on it, but Serene did come forward with an interview talking about those days and stuff. But they've just reissued their first album on it's on Spotify and streaming services now. So hopefully
I'll tell you what I did find. Well, my trip to America many years ago, I went in. It was like a garage. I don't know why I ended up in this. It was like a garage for like auto parts and junk and all sorts of stuff. And in the corner, there was this rack, this box, and it had CDs in it. I don't know what they were doing there. And I'm looking through, and what did I find? Hold on. Do you know the track "I Need Your Love"? Don't you remember the Untouchable remixes? I found a promotional CD single with all the Untouchable remixes on it for 50 cents. It's worth about $100 now on eBay and Discogs. I'm like, what is this CD single doing in like an auto garage? I couldn't believe it. them Untouchables mix of I Need Your. Oh, they could make. Hey, someone suggested we do our top 10.
Tap to
That could be in it,
remixes.
you know.
Okay, I'm going to move to number 4. And yeah, it's hard because I had honorable mentions as well, but no one has said 3LW yet. Maybe I'm sure somebody will get there, or
Like,
Blag.
don't
But
play and no more. They had some good singles, didn't they?
it was hard for me from 1 to 4. It could have gone either way. And this group is and they've already mentioned, but number 4 for me comes in, it was TLC. And I love their first album. It was one of my first CDs that I ever bought. And on Ain't Too Proud to Beg, the whole thing, the whole stuff that they were doing. Then they went from tomboy to crazy, sexy, cool. They went all futuristic with Scrubs. That second fan mail album. Pity with once Lisa left it just when she passed away, sadly, it just that was it. She was the energy. She was a ball of fire. Um, strangely enough, I loved T-Boss in the first album and the second album, but I think later on, I just didn't want her gravelly voice anymore, and I loved so Left Eye and Chili. So I guess it was just hard to just but they were just different. They were unique, and they were just out there. And so TLC, number 4 for me. They were just they were on their own. What about you, Sheldon?
Okay, let me run down my quick honorable mention real fast. Terry and Monica, Brownstone, Destiny's Child, Changing Faces, Escape, and the one group that I removed. When you listen to like with Destiny's Child, if you put Destiny's Child and who was it? Not Changing Faces, but if you could take Destiny's Child and TLC and you mix them up, you take their catalog and you mix it up. This one group, obviously they were 70s group, and they were like, it was called the Honeycomb. And they had 2 big records. One was called One Ads, and then the other one was called Stick Up. And they had some other records, and they had about 4 or 5 records, and they were written in the same vein. When we think about those kind of like street type records, they kind of like No Scrubs and Creep and Bills, and those type of records. The Honeycomb did that in the 70s. They had a lot of great records. If you ever listen to Stick Up and One Ads, it took conceptual spins of everyday things and they worked them up into a song. So the One Ads record was about, putting an ad in a newspaper for a man. It has to be certain age, young, single, and free. It was dope records, man. So I would say those were my honorable mention. And I forgot Zane. Zane was also on my honorable mentions list. I loved them. When you look at a duo, the harmony that they had, and a lot of records they were singing from the KG's production, he was sampling a lot of obscure 80s records, 70s records, or whatever. And they were like a breath of fresh air. Plus, they didn't have the glamour look. They had the short haircuts. They had the great vibe. But those are my honorable mentions. Now, for my number 4, Sister Sledge.
Wow.
Sister Sledge started out. Sister Sledge started out, had a lot of dance disco records, man. But then when they came out with We Are Family, I would say if anybody who's looking at me like I'm crazy,
no, can't be that.
The We Are Family album is the it's
album.
about time. It's the equivalent of It's About Time. When you look at the SWV album, having to stay in power and having to run of singles, go listen to the Sister Sledge's We Are Family album from 1979. They got hits upon the hits upon the hits on that album. That album is bigger than a lot of people's careers. So Sister Sledge is my number 4.
It's a brilliant pick. You're brilliant pick, Sheldon. I mean, it could be number 1.
Yeah.
Their run of albums is just. I know it got a bit pop with, say, Frankie in the mid-80s, but
they jumped on that pop train. But I'm telling you,
the rest of the albums have got some great stuff on it. That Chic production, amazing.
Yeah. Enough.
Yeah. Did you see Kathy Sledge?
I need to watch that interview.
That
Yeah,
was sad.
she probably, it's one of my biggest regrets. We did about 2 hours, and then I think my broadband just collapsed, and it, just as we were wrapping, So I wanted to go further, but she talked about the whole situation with her sisters, the whole pain of breaking up, and how, the whole jealousy and stuff, and which it was tough but therapeutic for her to be able to talk openly about what had gone on and in the past and how it affected them. But and starting so young,
And, and
it's just
and the thing about them, man, is that they were accomplished. All of those women, man, they had college degrees, man. So even while they were making records, they were going to college, man. I remember seeing a clip. They were on a show called American Bandstand, and Dick Clark he was interviewing them, and they all spoke multiple languages, man. He would take the mic, and one person spoke fluent Spanish, the other one were fluent French. They were all college graduates, man. Very
yeah.
accomplished women at early 20s, late teens, early 20s, man. So yeah, I love Sister Sledge, man. That We Are Family album. That's the equivalent. For people who don't know who they are, that album is the equivalent of the SWV's debut album.
Totally.
Yes.
Now,
Sheldon, who makes your number 4?
Kathy Sledge talk about a solo album. I think it was 92 she released one. There was some New Jack on it as well, some dance, some soul. It's a really good album.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm sure we did. I mean, it's yeah, yeah.
If
I'm
I'd have
sure
been there, I'd have been on track by track about. I'd have took it out and
yeah,
what's the right work? I think
yeah.
she worked with. Is it the characters? I think producers on that album.
Yeah.
Anyway, what number are we on? What number are we on now?
So we're on number 4.
Okay, I've got again. These girls have got a story. I guess it didn't quite take off from though, did it? Their careers. I'm going to go with the girls / Terry and Monica. Didn't quite happen for them. Terry and Monica did this album, and then they did another album in '96, which I think it was unreleased until I think it came out on digital, didn't it? Streaming, might be on streaming.
Yeah.
You can check the album out. But obviously, the girls' first New Jack album. It's just I didn't even get the girls' album until 1996 when I first went to America, and I found the CD in one of those mom and pop stores they have. And again, it was like some mythical holy grail trying to find that album. I just couldn't find it here. So to find it in the US and get a copy, I was so happy. And I brought it back, and then the price of that album just went through the roof. It was like $100 at one point for the girls' album, but not the best singers. But I just think from a New Jack point of view, it's just sentimental value. I do like this album though. I do like this album a lot. It's not going to set the world light in terms of big hit records, but it just didn't happen for him. But yeah, my number 4, Terry and Monica.
My favorite song by them was I've Been Waiting. Great record.
Yeah.
Great record.
There was the track on it, but written by Horace Brown. I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
There's a track. I'm not going to go through the credits, but there is a Horace Brown thing written on here. But
I need to listen to the Tammy Lucas interview again. I believe she was supposed to be in the girls, and she and at when they were signed to Giant.
Well, it is a secret for you. I don't know if I should reveal this.
Go ahead.
The secret is Tammy. No, I can't reveal it. Sorry. Yeah. You guys know about it, but I can't reveal it publicly.
Thanks, Glenn. Thank you, Glenn. Sugar. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. But anyway,
no,
okay.
No, I can. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll be sure, Dinah Ross. No matter what you do, remember that record?
I got the 12-inch. I got the 12-inch of that record. Yeah.
Right, the demo was done by the girls.
Wow.
Yeah. The demo of that's the secret. I'll let it slip out, and that's all I'm going to say on that. Done by the girls.
Okay. Great group, man.
I wonder if I'll be sure can even remember. Probably does. He probably does, but and I'll slip that one out there. I won't slip the other one out though.
Well, I'm going to try and get one of my favorite guests, Carl West, back for us to interview him and talk to him, because he's, I didn't realize he did. I was just listening to the Ralph album, and I just like Carl West kind of sort of orchestra production with KC Wright and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. Number three for me, and this, as I said, it was hard for me, one, two, and three, but En Vogue makes my number
Wow.
three. That first album is probably my favorite. That Born to Sing. It was probably one of my first 5 CDs that I got, and I wore that CD out. Um, I didn't like Funky Divas too much. I just that first single.
Never gonna get it.
What was it called?
You never.
Yeah, never gonna get. I didn't. But but I just and maybe because I just loved Dawn. But I just thought that they when they came up with that sort of the harmonies, when they the intro and hold on, it was something that was just so out there. Like, what? Where's this from? This is them showcasing their voice and stuff, and and as I said, maybe I'm biased just because I really loved the interview with Dawn, and she went through the whole journey and everything. But it's politics and industry egos just messed up a big thing between when she left when they had their biggest single. It just as much as the album EV3 still went platinum, but it could have been a proper diamond album because that was them just moving forward. I love when they did the song with F Mob. That was
Foster McElroy.
Yeah, but what was the track? The track that Runaway Love. I love that vibe.
Really?
Remember that?
I'm surprised you picked that one, but fair play to you.
Yeah. I just love the they had just come up with What a Man, and they did the Runaway Love. It was just
Did you hear the remix of Lies, the Untouchables remix, New Jack remix?
I don't think I did.
You'd love that.
Was Dawn rapping in that?
Possibly, I can't remember. There's so many mixes of that.
Okay,
but you'd love that mix.
So that was my number three. Sheldon, who's your number three?
I'm gonna give you my three, and I'm gonna give you my two because they're interchangeable for me. Emotions and the Jones Girls. We also said they're 3 and 2.
Wow.
Two groups. They're sisters. Each group, three. They're sisters in each group. You talking about singing? Not just singing. Okay. There's a lot of people out there who, a lot of female groups, but there's a lot of studio, a lot of production assistants. But you listen to some Emotions records, and not just the hits, but the album records. The same with the Jones Girls, the blend. When you listen to we listen to a lot of records that are out. The background vocals are mixed like really, really low, and you can hear like the up tempos. But when these people were in the studio, they're singing the leads and the backgrounds at the same time, the harmonies. So I'll just say, when you look at Emotions, Don't Ask My Neighbor, Boogie Wonderland with Earth, Wind and Fire, I would say just go back and listen to their catalog, and you can see the harmony. Same with the Jones Girls. You're Gonna Make Me Love Somebody Else. Who Can I Run To? Nights Over Egypt. Just when they sing together, they have a different blend. But when they're singing, like singing backgrounds, they're singing the lead together, and the blend is so perfect on key, just perfect, man. So that's my 3 and 2. Jones Girls and Emotions. I would just
I'm just thinking who you pick for number one, because Emotion, you pick some real talent there. I remember Philly. There was a run in the 90s. They put like 2 albums on one CD, and that's how I picked up all my Jones Girls albums at good price. Just a great group, like you say. Been sampled a lot as well. As have the Emotions. You know what I mean? Emotions got a lot of samples, Earth, Wind and Fire type groove productions going on with the Emotions. But great pick, Sheldon.
Thank you. Yeah, man. I love them.
Who's your number 3, Steve?
Very, very tough. They could have been number 1, number 2, or number 3, but we ended up at number 3. And we've talked a lot about them already. SWV. First album, second album. I even like some of the stuff on the rap album as they. And I'd I'd love to see a new record by him. You know, I mean, they talk about the Brian Alexander Morgan keeps saying he's going to release some stuff, and
Yeah,
I don't know if I'll ever see that.
and I think yeah. So I mean, I can go straight to my number two because that SWV made my on number two. And I the one group that I bought every album they came out with. Actually, strange enough, lose the third album was that lose your
Release some tension.
release some tension. Actually was I
Yeah,
actually
I did
enjoyed
as
that
well. I
album
mean, you know,
because I think because hip hop was so dominant. I love the whole puffy stuff
someone
and
for me.
there's someone for me, the one with Method Man and Lil C's. I actually enjoyed the whole album. I know Lily just hated the fact that they weren't able to showcase their vocals and stuff like that. But um
And that
and
recent album they did 6-7 years ago, that was a great record, man.
yeah, but then they went independent and yeah, and that's always a hard thing to get that
Yeah.
push. Um and Yeah, in fact, I did interview Corey Taylor, who was their manager. I don't know if anyone has seen the SWV
Yeah, I remember they gave him a
documentary.
hard time. Oh my God.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
gave a hard time. So yeah, Corey's gonna come on soon to talk about
Listen, I have
the
mentioned
whole
this, but I did see him live in '93. The high this when they were performing this
at the
album
height.
at the Apollo in Manchester with Intro doing this album, and it was energetic. That's on. They're very energetic on stage. A lot of dancing, and you know, I'll cherish. I'll never forget.
Wow.
You know, gigs before mobile phones. You know, so when I used
That album is probably in the top three albums of all time in the 1990s.
yeah,
If not
it
five.
is up there. It is up there.
Top 3, top
Yeah.
5 easy in the 90s.
So
Yeah, I think
you know, you put up against, say, D'Angelo, Maxwell. It's as good as that
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
Blackstreet.
yeah, I mean
Yeah, it's up there,
yeah, I
innit?
mean,
It's up there, innit?
he had weak no weak
number one.
downtown. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they they did the thing. I think
If you did the top 10
Yeah, I
90s
think-
albums, is this going to be in it?
That's what be for me. I'm gonna tell you.
it won't make my top 10.
For me, I think that could easily be of all the albums that came out in the 90s from the New Jack era, just straight through the 90s. That album has got to be easy. Easy top 3. It could easily be number 1.
Wow.
It could easily be number 1.
You think so? I'm looking at
No,
all right,
no.
yeah, anything. I'm sorry to you right here. Week. The first 6 tracks are the singles.
There you go.
The first
There
6
you go.
tracks are all singles, yeah.
Yes.
But then
That-
again, it was kind of like then you've got Black Pudding. Who's listening to Black
Yeah.
Pudding?
Now it starts to
I
lag.
think you're gonna like it. That's a good record. Yeah, you know, no, it's a good album. This.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I mean, it's and I took Brian to task with this. I just didn't understand why. I was never a big fan of just the one singer because my biggest thing in that first 2 out is that Lily and Tosh should have had some vocals and stuff like that. Because Coco, amazing, one of the best female singers out there. And I like the fact that actually when people like oh goodness, his name escapes me. He was part of the Face, LA and Babyface, and Daryl Simmons did some work with them and chat and the rest. They gave Taj and Lily the opportunity to showcase the vocals, but the albums didn't sell as much and stuff. So it's always a hard debate. But yeah, so they're my number 2. Yeah, love the girls, and there's the staying power still evident. You know, to still be, you know, what
30.
still be 30
Yeah.
years on, 31 years, and still as at this stage, still people still calling out their names and stuff. And I have to give a shout out to Lily. When I interviewed Tabitha, Lily watched it and commented about the industry, about the whole industry stuff, and that's when I had to, and that's how Lily just then reached. That's how I connected with her. This is back 2.5 years ago. So she was watching me before anyone else was
Wow.
watching, as a celebrity, and she's given me 2 live interviews. So yeah, lovely
She,
Leo stuff. Anyway,
she
who's
was my
your?
favorite member of the group. Out of all three, Lily was my favorite of all three.
Yeah, I mean, I love Lily. I mean, she said, she said she didn't. She told her moms that she doesn't want to go to Apollo until she's a guest, and she made it. So, anyways, so Stevie Sheldon gave us his 2 and 3. Who's your
Just
number
before I
2?
get there, next time you speak to your other good friend, Father MC, he actually had something to do with a girl group. I found it in my racks, completely forgot about this terrible cover. Look at that, Tease featuring Father MC, 1994. The back cover's got the four
Yeah,
girls.
cover, man. Yeah.
It's a real cheap looking indie CD. It's very hip hop soul, heavy bass hip hop soul, but no new jack on. It's more slowed down hip hop soul, ghetto R&B. But yeah, a real gem. If you want to try and find next time you speak to Father MC, ask him about Tease. Who's my number 2? This was so tough because they could have been number 1. Imagine you're 17, 18 years old, going in a record shop, and the CDs are £16 in 1991.
Yeah, they were
You've
big.
got £20 or $20 to last you all week, and you're spending like 16 of your pounds on a new CD, and it meant the world to you because you get the CD home and you'd be playing it for weeks. And Ex-Girlfriend made number 2. I just love this album. I spent so much, I spent all my money on this album. This album so much because of all the money I spent on it. And they did 2 great albums for me, and then it all kind of fell apart. And they taught who's the lady, Stacey.
Stacey Francis.
It's almost like an afterthought the way she talks about him. I mean, oh yeah, I was part of Ex-Girlfriend, blah. I'm like, well, hold on a minute. You did some really great record. You were with Faith Walls.
Well, you know what?
Nobody really remembers the solo career, but they remember Ex-Girlfriend. You know what I mean? No disrespect.
But the thing about them is that I keep going on about Troop. That I don't think people appreciate Troop. I don't think people appreciate how good a performers Ex-Girlfriend were. I mean, they were doing acrobatics. They would search Ex-Girlfriend's Soul Train, backflips and doing the whole thing. I mean, the full force put them to work. And they really had their stuff done. I thought their second, when they had that track with R. Kelly, I think that was some industry sabotage because they should have moved forward with the second album. But it's just that when if you have a fallout, they just sabotage your records. And there's a lot of people who tell you about how they either don't release you. If they do release you, they won't push it, and it goes nowhere.
Warner Brothers Reprise didn't even bother. I don't think they even put this out in the UK. They tried with the second album though. I remember X in Your Sex that came out as a UK single with a load of remixes on it. They did try, it just didn't happen for them. But solid group. Like I say, I cherish these girls so much. I wish again they come back together just for one record, but it'll never happen.
Well, we can always reach out to Stacey and see what she says. I know you've saw the interview, and I know that unfortunately there's been so much other things that have come through that it's hard for Stacey to really embrace Ex-Girlfriend. And I think a lot of the issues she mentioned was the stuff. These guys get signed, and the contracts aren't great.
Maybe we need to get another member on just to get their side because they might have enjoyed, they might have enjoyed the process more, the record. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see. Maybe we can get another one on. So we've reached number 1 now, have we?
We've reached number 1. So before we go to number 1, I'm going to go. You for me, Glenn. Thanks. Yeah, that was the Ex-Girlfriend stuff with R. Kelly. It should have been a hit. I don't know why they maybe they got blacklisted. So my number 10 was Abstract, much higher up in Stevie's list. Destiny's Child, I think they don't get the the recognition within our from for what they did in the 90s. 702, Get It Together, and Stilo, and Where My Girl's At, and Star. They just have so many hits. Cut Close, one album, but it was such a solid album. Number 6 was Changing Faces. 5 was Brownstone. 4 was TLC. Number 3 was En Vogue. Number 2 was SWV. And I have to tell you that my favorite girl group was Total.
I kind of seen that one coming.
I love the fact that all three of them had, I love the fact that they had distinct voices. I love Pam. Pam back in the day, she just did her dance stuff. Her voice was unique. Um, they were just different. They were just and they embraced that whole bad girl stuff. But they really had some really. I think their second album was probably even better, but they just didn't release the right singles. They have some better singles on that second album. But Stay Waiting Home was the second single, which wasn't as good as, say, they had the stuff with Tammy Lucas and the Neptunes that they could have released. They had some big better singles on the second album. But yeah, they came out Puffy knew how to make a group popular. But I loved it. And I said I'm a big fan of Pam, and I just loved it. That loved them as a group. Yeah, Kissing You. They had Raf Sadiq on that. Yeah, and I've interviewed only two out of the three, but hopefully I can get the full house on there. And the thing, Colin says nowhere near SWE, and that's the thing about. And I think I learned my lesson from when we did our producers. Teddy should have been my number one, and I went and put Quincy Jones because I was focused so much on who's better, and I realized favorite wise, album material. If I was to listen to albums now, I probably would listen to Total fully, and I just loved what they did, and it was their favorite
No,
female
I
group.
love the first album. I wasn't so keen on the second album, but I loved the first one. I did play that a lot at the time. I thought it was a big,
First,
Yeah,
the first one I loved. I loved the first one better than the second, but the second one was a great way to build on what they had already done. Because obviously they were singing off of break beats, singing off of samples or whatever. But then when they went into that second one, they kind of like stretched it out a little bit, But that first one was my favorite, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. Can't You See?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Just, yeah.
Yeah, Kissing You. Yeah,
As
I said,
they had a few records, man. Yeah.
No One Else. No One Else. That was
No One Else.
Big single. That
Yeah,
remix were amazing.
yeah.
No, a good group. They were good, a solid group Total. They, very, if you for 90s R&B, you got to have them Total records in your collection.
Yeah. As I said, I just love, and Pam, Pam she just put all this stuff in her stuff anyway. But everyone has. I can't. Who's Pam?
Kima.
Kima and Keisha. Okay, yeah, Kima. Kima, she gave me an interview, but she's the most reserved guest. She was almost like a politician. Like, yep, I'm checking my answers, making sure I don't get in trouble what I say. We signed those NDAs, and so she was, she was very careful in every answer she gave. But she was good people's in there. So, and I have to say, sometimes because I've had these personal contacts with these groups, it kind of skews a little bit of how I picked them because I'm remembering. Pam has been on the show 4 or 5 times and stuff like that. So sometimes I'm thinking. That's why I love Mila and stuff. So sometimes when I'm voting, I'm thinking about those people. But some of the people that I missed out, Climax, Salt and Pepper, the Spice Girls, and the Braxtons.
Why? Just why? Explain that one to me.
Giving You Everything. I love that track. I actually they were a fun group, and that was the whole time of the whole Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, and the Spice Girls came and stuff. And I think at that time,
I hated
I think I was
Wannabe.
living
At
in.
the time, I hated that record so much. Oh,
I think I was. I think I think sometimes when something's so funny that you actually get into it. And I was living in Redondo. If anyone has lived in LA, I was living in Redondo Beach, and we go to Hermosa, and it was I was I was still in my R&B stuff, but I was listening to a lot of Blink 185, 187, and all the stuff. And so when Spice Girls came out, the crowd I was listening to were hanging out with. Those are the things. So it just got into my sec. I think they actually did. They did. Yeah, it was so. It was fun. It was fun music.
I mean,
And
I didn't appreciate him at the time. I kind of like, I was like, I was like, oh God, I just can't take the singing. What was Victoria?
you see, you
What did
guys are in
Victoria
Britain, though. It
Beckham
must
do
be
apart from
different.
just stand there and look pretty? Did she actually sing that? I don't know. But 30 years later, they reissued the first album in a double pack CD with a load of demos on, and I listened to it. And a lot of the demos are R&B, the 90s R&B production wise. I bought it. And I was like, what? I was like, I just missed it. Maybe I was too embarrassed to even buy it at the time. Same with that first New Kids on the Block. Not the first New Kids on the Block. The one the 94 album, which was a bit embarrassed to walk out the shop with. But I thought at the time, I can't be buying a Spice Girls record. But now I miss them. It's funny, isn't it? Nostalgia, looking back. Their first album, and they worked with your mate who's on speed dial, Rodney Jerkins, on one of their albums as well. Like you say, Holler, he's Rodney
Yeah.
Jerkins. That, yeah, Dark
Okay.
Child had a lot to do with that album, so I kind of miss him now.
Okay.
Who else did you mention in that list?
Just quick. New Kids on the Block. Teddy's posted. They just reissued their debut album, and Teddy did some. Or released one of their sort of greatest hits.
Where is it? Hold
Teddy
on.
did some production on
Yeah,
it.
he did some production on that NKTOB album.
Yeah, so I think they've just reissued it and they've listed some.
Yeah, they got some good songs, man. When they went back into the R&B, because when they started out, they were doing R&B records. Like they had "Please Don't Go, Girl" back in. That was R&B record.
The new reissue.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the new one.
I picked it up yesterday.
Yeah, that's pretty
Got
good.
New edition on it. Teddy Riley's on it. It's a good. Neo's on it. And some good tracks on this album.
Yeah.
Okay.
They even had a record that they came out with. I think they did a video with Neo. That was a really good record. That came out maybe, I don't know, about maybe 10 years ago or something like that. But yeah.
Okay. I joked around.
What else did you mention before, Namdi?
I mentioned, the Braxtons and 3LW and Climax. So just But Sheldon, who makes your number one?
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and give you my number one. And it's something that you said, Namdi, is that I think you was talking about SWV to where the producers really didn't create material around Taj and Lily's voices.
And Lily, yeah.
And that's why En Vogue is like my number one, because when you look at their catalog, to me, they're epitome of a female group. I mean, they're great female groups, but they're epitome of it because you don't have one lead singer, and they had different songs on their albums that were built around everybody's voice, even though Dawn might have been considered to stand out, but everyone brought something unique to the table when they would sing records. So even though you might have had Dawn or Terry, they might have been singing some of the actual hits or whatever that is. But I love how when you listen to the whole album, you got the whole vocal experience from everyone, and that's why they're my number one, is that they really, they kind of like Boys to Men. They really epitomize a female group, and you got full experience when you heard their records, which is really cool. Great harmonies. They could sing very well. They look good. The videos were dope. And then every song had it was unique. It wasn't like, okay, somebody took a record and they just sampled some loops and every song is just kind of like an extension of that. They gave you actual songs And it made a lot of
Mm.
sense, of course, with Foster McElroy. They gave them the consistency that made them set apart from other groups, so they didn't get caught and lost in the producer merry-go-round because they had the stability with the producers. Now on the business side, yeah, it is what it is. But those first 3 albums or whatever, they really did really good. And people love them to this day. And think about it, is that not only were the songs good back then, they're the only female group that's really touring the way they're touring. I mean, they were on the New Kids on the Block. They want to tour with them, and they just all over the place, man. Those records they got legs on them, man. Longevity, you know.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, Dawn leaving just at that timing just really put a poison chalice into everyone's mind. Like, oh, what's going on? I don't know how many groups have survived when a member leaves. So think of Boys to Men. As much as you may say these are the main singers, but without Mike, it just aesthetically doesn't look the same, and fans just feel a little bit cheated. So I think, yeah, as I said, I think people sleep on En Vogue, but they came out off the gates heavy, and vocally they were just on a different level and stuff. But yeah, I mean I can't argue with that.
It's interesting because my relationship with En Vogue goes like this. I remember buying tickets, again, spending my hard-earned money on a ticket to see him live. They're coming to Manchester. I think it was at the Apollo. And we've all been through this, guys. You ask a girl out on a date, and you got this date planned, and at the last minute, she lets you down, and the date never happens, and you feel gutted as a young guy. Your hormones are pumping. So I get the news that En Vogue have cancelled. They cancelled the UK tour.
What?
They're not coming. I was gutted. And that was it for me for En Vogue. It was just like, what have you just done? I've just bought your album. I bought your ticket. Looking forward to, Dawn, if you ever watch this podcast, I'm sorry. By the time your second album drops, I bought your second album. That was it for me. Even though I did buy all their albums, but they just don't have that. As talented as they are, as great singers, because of that reason, top 10. It's my payback to them.
You took it personal.
But I'll tell you what we did with the money. We bought tickets to see Lisa Stansfield, her debut album. What an amazing gig that was. I got to see Lisa Stansfield, the Affection Tour. Oh, great memory. So anyway, what we are, is it my number one
So
pick?
is your number one? You want to count down your 9 to 10 to...
I'll tell a story for my number one. Goes into my, at the time, Expansion Records, which was the local import record shop at the time.
Mhm.
It's buying all my New Jack Swing records. Gets in there, gets to the racks, and it's the first thing. They just put it in the racks. And I picks this 12-inch single up, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, one of these girls has got the huge green hat on. There's another girl got a condom over her face. I'm like, what is this? I didn't even, normally I'd go, can you just play it so I can hear it? And I just thought, I'm not sure just not sure. Look at this thing. I put it back, right? I can't remember what I bought that day. I went home. Then the next evening, shout to Leaky Fresh, who was DJing at the time, Sunset Radio. He did on a Sunday evening, 9 for the 90s New Jack Swing countdown. So he play like from 9 to 1, the latest New Jack records. And at number 1, he plays this record, and I nearly fall out of bed because it's at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what the hell's this? Untouchables on the remix. It's 6 minutes long. It's got that lately bass line he goes, and that's the new one from TLC, Ain't Too Proud to Beg. And I'm like, oh my God, I had the record in my hand and I didn't buy it. The next day, get on the phone to the record shop. Please put that record in a bag. So I'll get it on. And they saved it. They did save it. So TLC, number 1. I would even argue that their second album, Crazy Sexy Cool, is better than SWV's first album.
Wow.
I'd argue that. Their second album is a
But you
brilliant.
know what though?
I think that's
It's actually
one of
cool.
the best
A
albums.
lot
of
of
the
great
90s.
records. Midnight Special, Creep. What's the other records on there? I can't think of it. What's the
No, they did the Prince cover. They did the Prince cover. It's got Waterfalls on it, which
Waterfall?
I'm never a
Yeah,
huge
yeah,
fan.
yeah,
Oh, that's a big album, big 90s
yeah,
album.
yeah.
You know, huge album. I think it's stronger than the first.
It is.
It's debatable, but they make my number one.
Okay.
They make my number one anyway.
Wow.
And we all know the story of TLC and the run they had, and the money they allegedly didn't make, and you know, and obviously the passing of
Lisa.
Left Eye.
Oh god, it's just tragic. That documentary just had me in bits. Had me absolutely in bits.
Yeah.
You know? What a group. What a group, the way they blew up, the story, the records. It's almost like as big as New Edition, TLC.
Yeah.
It's that
You know,
kind
they
of
had
drama with them, you know.
And think about it, is that when Lisa died in 99, 2000, like that, and they put out, I think Fan Mail was like right behind it. Right? No, Fan Mail was before that. But think about it, man, is that they were out for like almost 10 years as a group. It doesn't seem that long, but they were out for 10 years. They put out about 3 albums in 10 years, and they put one out at the end after she died, a few years after that, man. But yeah, people love them. They love them, you know.
A group, they never came to the UK for like, I don't think they ever came to the UK in the 90s to tour. Don't even remember if they did.
Oh.
We didn't get a chance to see them, you know, in the prime, which I could be wrong. Someone correct me on that, but I don't ever remember a TLC tour in the UK in the 90s. I don't remember it.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, as I said, it's one thing to, they broke the mold with, Colin says, no, they didn't come to the UK, which is strange. I mean, at that time, everyone was touring globally. But yeah, they broke the mold with the singer, the rapper, and then a different type of vibe. There was 3 different unique girls who didn't try and dress in the whole sexy way. They just being themselves, and they got, Dallas did some heavy production with them, and Face did some tracks with them. So they yeah. I mean, yeah, as I said, they were, you can't argue with and I mentioned my 1 to 5, it's like it could have been either way. It could have been
So
either
we've got Total. We've got, who's your number one, Sheldon?
En Vogue.
En Vogue, Total En Vogue, and
Until
TLC.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And as I said, it's
the listener's choice seems to be SWV.
yeah.
The ones who tuned in this evening.
But you know what?
Great picks. Can't argue with any of them, really.
Yeah, and I think the reason why SWV still endures today is just because they're still putting out, they're still touring, they're still together. Total sort of broke up, and they've, after the Bad Boy tour, they've not come out together. TLC without Left Eye, it just doesn't work. As much as they, T-Boss and Chili try and do their thing, but Left Eye was just something unique.
Have we missed anybody this evening? We have mentioned a lot. I'm just thinking, have we missed any significant?
No, I'm sure people might ask about Salt and Pepper. How come they weren't listed? But I it's hard to say stuff like that. It's hard. I mean, yeah, there were, Pure Soul or Allure, some of those girls. Black Girl that Colin mentioned, they had 90s Girl. Moke and Steph, yeah, I mean,
I found these. That's a hard CD to find out.
Sequence and Finesse.
Yeah, on Uptown
Finesse
Records.
Sequence, okay.
Yeah, that's quite a collectible CD if you can find it now.
Yeah, Black Girl, Moke and Steph. They came out with the cheating song, She's Mine. I was like,
I didn't watch their interview because they only made one album, didn't they? What happened?
Well, as I said, the one thing is the girls in Moke and Steph wrote all their tracks, so they wrote their tracks. The thing about She's Mine is that they were writing from their perspective that we're going to fight for our man. I'm saying no, that's the cheating song. That's saying you may have had them once, but I have them all the time. I'm thinking, yo, I'm like, okay, well, if you're okay about that, yes, we only had it once, but I'm coming home to you. But they're like, no, that wasn't supposed to be the case. But they knew what they were doing. I mean, and Sex in the Rain. I mean, they held it down. But like anything else, because they knew their stuff, they knew their worth. Industry weren't happy with them and stuff. So yeah. So some, I never really.
Naughty Nice. I enjoyed that album. It was fun. It was kind of, again, that album was kind of risque lyrically. It was very.
Somebody asked about that record. Yeah.
And then Floetry, they were amazing.
Oh wow, yeah, Floetry was very unique. Yes. That first album, I loved it, man.
I'm liking. That's a good list. SWETLC, Total Change.
I've never heard of
Sorted
Flavors.
Sorted Flavors, strong album, very strong. Dave Jampol production. It's a really good list. That excellent list.
Yeah, I mean, Floetry. I don't know. I mean, they were part of that neo soul vibe. Those 2000s where, the Angie and Debbie.
I'll tell you, the best song from Michael Jackson had Floetry's best song, Butterfly.
Yeah,
Butterflies. Yeah.
Great record.
Yeah.
I
mean, as I said,
they were like the Winans kids. Angie and Debbie, I remember them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, as I said, the females, when you dig in, there were a number of female groups, but they didn't get the same push as the males did.
Gospel group, Anointed.
Yeah, I heard of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
They had 337.
Really obscure. Futrell, I don't know if anyone's heard of them. Another gospel, New Jack.
Oh, man.
These ladies did 2 albums, Obsession. Again, Gerald Levert produced something on the second album. And these ladies had a couple of albums as well. Body. What's she called? Angela Wimbush produced some of this.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Stevie, I think you were, man, when you was working at the record store, man, you was walking out the back door with some CDs, bro, because you got a lot of music, man. Walking out the back door. Yeah, you got some good. Yeah, I see Jerron. You got you got some good people on here. Jocelyn Brown, Deborah Cooper. Yeah, good female singers. Yep.
Yeah. It looks like you may have a visitor, Stevie, to come collect some of your stuff.
I come.
I better not give my definitely don't give my home address away.
Yeah, but guys, as I said, it's very strange, it's subjective, but we still have about 3 more lists before the end of the year that we're going to
What we're going to do for a Christmas special, guys. We're going to have to do a Christmas special, aren't we? What, top 10 Christmas songs? I don't know.
Well, I think the biggest black group or R&B group out there is I wanted about a New Edition catalog. So I'm talking about if you were to rank all of New Edition, so the solo stuff plus the albums.
That's a good one.
Who how would it be? So with the Poison album, go against Any Heartbreak, which would be number 1. With Don't Be Cruel album, be better than the Bobby album. So trying to see the top 10. Home Again, where would that fit in a top 10? And that would be from like 88 to about 96. So when I don't want to go down to Candy Girl and Cool It Down, but
I'm just thinking with if any of these girl groups, could they compete, or were they as big as, say, like your New Editions? Or your Boys to Men? Could you say En Vogue? Who had the most? Success?
I think if you had to go ahead and pick a group, it would just be 2. It would be 2 in terms of presentation. I'm not talking about just hit records, but in terms of stagecraft and presentation, it would have to be En Vogue would be number 1, and maybe SWV right behind it in terms of just being able to deliver on stage, minus the background dancers, minus all the extra stuff going on, the whole theatrical situation. It would probably be En Vogue and SWV. Everybody else, much respect to them, but to come in and just deliver without having all the extra over the top.
TLC with Left Eye could
this might upset the woke generation. But who would you say is the best looking group?
Oh man,
I think at the time, I would have thought En Vogue
En Vogue, man.
at that time. Looking
Vogue, the
back,
glamour. They had the whole glamour, and they stayed that way. They didn't have the masculine energy with the baggy clothes and all of that stuff. They always had like the glam. I think it's what set them
Something
apart.
he can feel that video of En Vogue.
Yeah,
Good guys, that was
yeah.
a treat,
So
wasn't it? That was a real
I
treat
think,
for us guys. That one, it. You know,
yeah,
Everybody else was
but
cool. Everybody else was cool, but I think man, En Vogue.
Colin says not escape. You get us in trouble, Colin. Yeah,
we love them. Yeah. So, guys, so for our Christmas special, there will be the whole because New Edition are
Oh, come
like
on,
the
we've got to have a
40 years.
Christmas. We've got to have a Christmas
Edition.
songs countdown, surely.
I mean, we can do a Christmas one. We have to do the New Edition one because we still got a couple of episodes before the end. So
That's real
between
comfort food. The New Edition episode, isn't it?
yeah, New Edition, yeah,
Real
because
comfort
as I
food,
said,
that
New
one.
Edition catalog. Because as I said, you'd be surprised how high Ralph's album will be compared to say Johnny's or compared to Hootie Mac.
Who had the worst in terms of because a lot of these girl groups, good singers. Who were the worst in terms of singing? Would you say? Oh, should we even go there? You know what I mean? The poorest one. Spice Girls. There you go. They'll set that ground. Spice Girls.
In terms of I mean, yeah, but then it's
You know, I'm gonna tell you.
I mean, it's hard because I've.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just saying, you just really don't know, man, because you know the whole studio situation, and you know, not too many like pure. I can't even say pure singers because, you know, you could be a pure singer, but then when they put you in the space of that producer-driven type of situation, like when you look at like maybe let's say Taj and Lily, right? They could be pure singers, but we never get a chance. We'll never know because they never really put them into the mix into those songs to give those songs an additional dynamic the way you heard it from En Vogue. You know,
Yeah.
so it's kind of hard, man. But I really think that era, a lot of great groups, a lot of memorable groups, but it was an influx of groups at a time where everybody wasn't going to just really hit really hard. But the fact is that we brought up so many different ones, and then some of the, you know, our listeners brought up someone. All of those groups really made an impact. You know, they defined an era. So
I'm glad I'm glad you mentioned the ones you did, Sheldon, because you're going back to where it started, really. You know, a lot of these groups in the 90s, we wouldn't have had these if we wouldn't have had like the Supremes and you know, just wouldn't have happened.
Man, when you look in terms of those groups, in terms of the historical impact to what it was before, to where you've always had them, you know, you started seeing them come out, the evolution of them. But in the 50s, like the rock and roll era, they're singing records. They were like they were singing to teenagers, you know. And then the Supremes came and blew the whole thing up, and you know, it was a succession of groups, man, coming in, and that's the model. So whether they were doing, when you look at the Destiny's Child, they're like Supremes, because you know Diana Ross, Beyonce, you got the other two, and then they go branch off, and they, you know, it's just so many different components of those groups. But I had to have the mix. I had to have the mix, and I had to come up with a criteria for, because you know, there's a lot of other ones. Some of them could have been ranked higher, but I try to stay away from the record sales and all of that. But I wanted to kind of just provide a full spectrum of those groups, you know, man, because
I thought this might have been difficult this evening, but I think we've gone far more in depth with these girl groups than what we did with the male groups. Far more in depth.
Mm-hmm.
Dug really deep today, you know.
Yeah, I thought it was going to actually. I struggled at first, just picking, and then I went through and stuff. And I would love to put in Zane, because I thought they, you know, that they were just unique and different. But you know, it's when you think about favorites, you're thinking about whose album can I just play and play and play and play and play. Yes, so guys. Everyone's list will be different, but we always appreciate the fact that you guys stuck with us. we will. Yeah, see, Colin's already getting into the new edition catalog battle, talking about Fair Weather Friend versus Stone Cold Jetsmith. But
I'm just thinking,
it would be interesting
with all the episodes that are forthcoming. We've only how many weeks to Christmas? It's 7.
Yeah. So
Like
I mean,
that,
we would. We're going to work out what we're going to be doing between now and New Year's, the episodes, and we'll post them up. But guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. It's been another great episode. It's been a little bit longer, but it's been a good one. And the whole thing about what we do with all of us is just celebrating the music and the artists. And sometimes you may listen to a group and think, I didn't really know much about the Emotions or the Pointer Sisters or some of the groups that Stevie has pointed out, and you just go onto YouTube and listen.
Totally.
When we do the daily poll, there's some number of people that just listen to all the tracks and then come back and vote, and that's the whole thing about yeah, I hope you don't
Oh,
get into
dear.
trouble.
Oh, you're not going to live this one down, Colin. I'm telling you, you're not going to live that one. Should be reminding you that for years to come now. On my birthday, do you remember on my birthday when you sat and watched that over 2 hour podcast about girl groups on damn YouTube instead of spending it with me on my birthday?
Yeah.
Happy birthday to your
Yeah,
your wife.
well, wishing your wife a happy birthday, Colin, because
Colin. Man, just sing Fair Weather Friend to her, man, and just
yeah.
you'll get her back. You'll get her back. But thank you for hanging in there,
definitely.
Colin. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna do. Yeah, as I said, Christmas special. We'll do something different and unique, but we'll post you guys. We'll keep you guys posted with some of our stuff that we're gonna do over Christmas. But still got a number of episodes that we'll put out before then. But from Stevie, Sheldon, and myself, we always appreciate you guys taking part. And yeah, as I said, just keeping R&B and New Jack. Well, Stevie's is the New Jack banner there. We
Easy, I tell you. I think, man,
old school R&B.
You're making me blush, guys. Stop it, guys. You're making me blush.
I tell you, man. So if Andy and HMV and Tower they went out of business because they didn't have enough product, that's because it's all at your house.
Yeah.
You go to Andy's Record,
Yeah.
High Street somewhere, be like, I'm looking for. We don't have it. I'm like, yeah, Stevie's got it. That's why you ain't got it.
This is good. Yeah. So we appreciate you guys. We'll be back next in due time. In due time. But keep loving R&B, keep loving New Jack, keep loving soul music, and and Colin, happy birthday to your wife as well.
Happy birthday to your wife, Colin.
All right. We'll see you guys.